All right, welcome everybody. Good morning. Happy, what is this, Wednesday?
Happy Wednesday.
Glad to have you here. I'm so excited that you were able to show up. This is a quick impromptu coffee chat with Ann Hession. I am so excited to bring her to you. She and I have known each other for a couple of years now. We got connected doing some sales and coaching work for some other amazing organizations. And we are now collaborating together as part of a larger collaboration called the Expand Your Life giveaway. So I'm going to go ahead and drop the link to the Expand Your Life giveaway in the chat. And actually, while I'm doing that, Ann, how about you go ahead and introduce yourself? Because I am fascinated by the ways that people combine their skills in such unique and beautiful ways. And you are one of those people. So
Sure, I'd be happy to. Yeah, I kind of joke sometimes that I'm kind of a unicorn. And here's what I mean by that. So I am an energy healer and a medical intuitive, right? So I got all the woo-woo going on. Super woo, I embrace the woo. And I'm a sales expert, right? And I have millions of dollars in sales to my name from one-to-one. I don't mean from like sending someone to a website. I mean from one-to-one sales conversations. I'm a very good salesperson. So I help, what I do is what I call heart-centered and soulful sales. So I kind of brought those two things together, and who I serve are heart-centered entrepreneurs, and especially healers. Like my sort of real core, that most of the people who come to me are people who, like myself, are healers, and but also coaches, what I would call soulpreneurs, right? You're doing something that what you offer is part of your like soul's calling on the planet, right? And the thing is that most people, not all, but most people who would identify themselves as that are basically allergic to sales. Like they pretty much rather crawl into a hole in the ground than have a sales conversation, right? So that's where I come in, because unfortunately, if you can't effectively sell what you do, if like a sales conversation makes you cringe and everything, then you can't help as many people, right? You can't work with and help as many people on the planet. And I'm really excited to help healers and coaches really make the difference they're here to make in the world. So
I love that. I love that. And my people have heard me say over and over, I call it making peace with the money piece, because even though it's not about the money, our mission, our work on some level is not about the money. This is life in the real world. On some level, it's always about the money. And what I love so much about your approach is that we're making sales, but we're not being salesy.
Right.
You know, it really is coming from this place of service that I love so much, so much. So I have a question for you. For those of you on the line, I have dropped the link to the Expand Your Life giveaway in the chat. Be sure you go over there. There's lots of experts over there. Ann has a really juicy gift. She's going to tell you about that in a minute to actually help you make some forward movement on your sales and your pricing. And yes, Keith, as you have questions, for all of you, as you have questions or comments, feel free to drop them in the chat. That's why we call this a coffee chat. This is a chance for you to get to know Ann and her work. So tell me, Ann, tell me a little bit more about your approach to sales, what you love about sales.
Sure, I'd be happy to. And I'll also answer let me actually answer Keith's question real quick. He's saying, consider people who reach out and meet needs and others around them also a healer. And so absolutely, like you can be a healer in many ways. If coaching is healing, music can be healing, therapy is healing, there's all kinds of healing happens in so many ways, right? And some people would say specifically, like, I'm a healer, like there's a healing modality that they do, right? That there's something like that. So sometimes it's a little more formal, and sometimes it's a bit more of an elastic. But I'm here in terms of I want to help is anyone who's really wanting to make a positive difference in the world and needs help with getting that message out and actually being able to charge for what they do. Because the crazy thing is, if you can't charge for it, then you can't do very much of it, because you have to spend most of your time doing something else to make a living. So if you could actually charge well and appropriately and be paid well for it, then you can do so much more of it and you can help so many more people, right? So that's the sort of paradox that I want to help resolve. So now I a little bit lost track of your question, but is a little bit of kind of like, how did this come about?
Yeah, exactly.
So the first thing I'll tell, I truly do love sales at this point. That doesn't mean I love all kinds of, there's sales I would never do. There's like, you know, ways of selling that it's just like, no, that's not me. But even the kind of sales that I do now, I used to, if you feel like, yeah, well, fundamentally, I kind of hate sales. Like I used to be there. The idea of it used to make me nauseous, really. And, but I'm also someone, you know, I am entrepreneurial, right? I've always wanted to I've always had my own business. And there's a point at which, if you want to have your own business and your offerings that are so important to you, to the thing that you love to do to make a difference in the world, there's a point, I'm going to assert, you just have to get real with yourself and you have to learn how to sell it. You just do. Because if you don't, it's not a business, right? So could sound like the bad news, right?
And not sustainable. Not only not a business, but not sustainable.
Right? So it could sound like bad news, but here's what makes it not bad news, is that sales doesn't have to be what you think it is. It doesn't have to be, if you think of all the negative stereotypes we have about sales, because, you know, we've all had bad experiences, right? It doesn't have to be that way at all, like at all does it have to be that way. If you think about negatives you've had, think about it, haven't we all had some pretty awesome, wonderful sales experiences too? Like where the salesperson was so great. They really listened to you. They clearly cared about you. They clearly were taking the time to ask the questions and listen to the answers and help figure out the best solution for you. And you would always go back to that person. Haven't you guys ever had an experience like that? Like that's how sales should be, right? And how it can be. And that's that coming from that heart-centered place is, you know, that's what I teach and that's what I help people do. And that evolved. You know, there was a point in time when I was sort of trying to make it as a coach and it was absolutely failing financially. And I won't get into the whole story, but I had a come to Jesus moment when I had to choose between putting gas in the car and feeding my kids. So any of you guys ever had that, one of those kind of moments, you're like, this isn't working, right? And I realized that I had to, like, I'm a go deep kind of person, like probably all of you guys here. I want to go into the surface. I want to examine my limiting beliefs. I want to free myself from things. And I realized I had to do that about my relationship to sales, just as I had done it about my relationship to other things in life. And long story short, I went and got a sales job, like 100% commission only sales job. I was like, if I have to learn this, that's the only way I'm going to learn it. Right. And I did it. I like took one for the team. Right.
Right.
I'm going to go. And I took that sales training, like my life depended on it. I found out that there were things I liked about it, like helping people solve problems. You know, how many of you like helping people solve their problems? Right. It's like the best. That's a huge part of sales, right? And then I went and I got like another job, another sales job, and like really like a trial by fire kind of thing. And I just got really good at it. And along the way, I learned some really wonderful skills and developed things on my own that I use to this day that are completely authentic. They're totally coming from the heart. They're just like really making a difference and helping people make a difference in their lives. And I also learned a few things that I was like, nah, not for me. I'm sure you know, right? Like, no, I'm not going to have that conversation that way. I'm not going to do that. Right. And so I separated out the kind of old, it's like there's I think, very outdated paradigm of sales that very, I'm going to say it's very high testosterone. Okay. If any of you guys are done sales training, a lot of traditional sales training out there, it's this uber male energy. Now, I want to make super clear, I'm not knocking male energy. It's a fabulous and wonderful thing. I have a lot of it myself, right? It's wonderful. And
Mhm.
for heart-centered people, healers and coaches and stuff, that's not what works for us in sales. So the heart-centered soulful approach to sales is more coming from a more authentic feminine energy that's about connection, right? It's about connection. And if I'm going to bottom line it, it's about always putting the relationship before the transaction. So when you're coming,
I love that.
right? So when you're, and people can tell. They can tell if you're putting the transaction as more important than the relationship. And they can tell when you're saying that the relationship is more important than the transaction. So that's when you're coming from, guess what? You also end up getting more transactions.
Yeah.
How people like to be treated.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that. So as I mentioned, Ann and I are collaborating together in a larger collaboration called the Expand Your Life Giveaway. If you've just now come on board with us, I'm going to drop that link into the chat one more time because, and this is the real reason. So we're talking about, you have a gift that you are sharing in that giveaway about choosing the perfect price point for your services. And I know that trying to figure out what the heck should I be charging for this gift, this service that I'm putting out in the world is something that can get all of us just like completely hung up. So I would love it. Yes, I would love it. If you share with people a little bit more about what's in the gift and what they can expect. And
absolutely. So yeah, my gift, it actually has two parts. It's called, the main one is called Perfect Price Point. So this is a training that I created a few years ago. And it's funny, you know, that, and I realized, and if you really look, you'll realize you all have things like this too, that there's something that you just do, right? And it's just like you have a process for doing something, and then you're like, well, doesn't everybody do that? And so for me, pricing was like that because I have had my own business. I mean, I've had a few jobs along the way too, but mostly I have been self-employed most of my life. So when you're self-employed, you have to put the price on what you're offering. When you work for someone else puts the price on it, right? And you can agree with it or not, but you have to put the price. So when I was a massage therapist, when I was a coach, when I was, all these different things I've done. So and I went through everything you guys have been through, having trouble spitting the price out. How many of you guys have ever had someone be like, oh, that sounds great, what do you charge? And you go, right? I've been there. Okay. Or somehow you have this price in mind and then they ask and you say something else much lower and you're like, why did I say that? But now it's out, right? Okay. Or you say the price you really want and then you're like, holy crap, what do we get? Right. So I've been through all of that. And I realized that over the years, over the decades, that I had actually come up with a process for pricing what I was offering that really worked. And guess what? It didn't have anything to do with going and like researching what other people are doing or what other people are charging or any of that, because none of that matters. Okay. What matters is that you have pricing that you feel completely aligned with and confident about. That's it. It's 100% inner. So this is the process that I came up with over those years, because I just had to do it over and over, of going through it. It's a 5-step process. That's all this inner stuff. It will transform your relationship to what you do and the value of it. It will get rid of the trap that you're stuck in around thinking this is about how much time it takes you. So that's one of the fundamental mistakes that people make, is like, I'm charging this much for my time. You're not being paid for your time. You're being paid for the value that you bring, right? So it's going to really anchor that in for you. And at the end of the 5 steps, you will have a price for your service that you actually feel great about. I promise. Like, if you do everything, that's what will come out at the other end. It might be challenging. It might not be 100% comfortable. But I want to say something about the difference between comfort and confidence. Comfort's a terrible goal.
Yes.
It's a terrible goal. Nothing fabulous in your life came from you being comfortable, right? So this isn't about, you are not going to come out with pricing that you're quote unquote comfortable with. I mean, you might also, like eventually that could happen, but you will come out with pricing that you're confident about. And the reality is, if you look at your life, you can handle a boatload of discomfort when you're confident, can't you? Right?
100%.
Yeah. So it's all about that confidence. And confidence is actually the single most important thing in making a sale. So yeah. And then so there was 2 parts. So I also included in the gift a 3-month membership in my Soulpreneur Success Academy. So this is a live 90-minute monthly group call with me, where you can ask me anything around your business, whether it's pricing, sales, marketing, anything at all. And we do, remember, I'm an energy healer. So we do live energy healing on the call as well. So I actually am working with the group and clearing away limiting beliefs, trauma, all that inner stuff that's in the way of you really shining your light in the world. So I included that as well. That's perfect.
Ah, that is so yummy. I love that. I love that. So for those of you who, and I'm seeing a couple in the chat, like Cherry, Susan, talking about how this whole pricing and charging for my services, and even Keith, as I see you, I remember you, Keith, you and I have had a couple of conversations about, well, how do I make peace with this? Because I want to give so much to veterans, and the veterans don't have anything, but at the same time, you know, you're bleeding yourself out, literally bleeding yourself out in a way that is unsustainable. So you cannot continue to serve the veterans.
Right.
Grab this gift, grab this gift, because with Ann's ability to help you really align with the true, confident value of the work that you bring to the world needs you right now. So more than ever. And you know, every time I say that, it feels almost like trite, and because it's like, well, no, it was more than ever 2 weeks ago. And yet it seems like it just keeps going.
It's going up. Yeah.
But yeah, get yourself, let me drop the link one more time. Just in case it's gotten lost in the chat feed for you. So you go over there, you enter your name and email address on the Expand Your Life giveaway. And then on the page that comes after that, you'll scroll down and you'll see Ann Hession's gift. That's called Perfect Price Point.
Yep. Perfect
Price Point. And there's a little yellow button there that says get immediate access. So go there and get that. And while you're in there, you know, there are several other awesome gifts, amazing gifts from other experts that we've worked with. Yeah, so as we're wrapping up, Ann, what last thought, what last comment, words would you have?
Along those what you were saying, it's really is, you know, you guys are here because you have something to, you want to make a difference in the world. You know, somebody said to me once years and years ago, just like, all everyone really wants to know in life is that they made a difference. And I think that's probably one of the truest things I've ever heard. It's just, that's it, right? And so and there's a lot of ways to make the difference, and they don't all have to be about your business, right? But if one of the ways you want to make a difference is through your business, then actually going through, I think having your own business is like the world's most amazing personal growth program. Right.
That's what I call surrender to your own growth, because it will bring up all your stuff.
Yes, there's this coach, this guy Mike Littman. He has this great quote about that. That he says, "Every level of income demands a new you." Yep. So think of that, right? Every level of income demands a new you. You're not the person that you were, you know, when you first entered, you know, the workforce or started working, and whatever you were earning there. You're not the person you'll be, you know, a few years ago from now. But like each to believe in yourself, it's really coming up to that, like, what I do is worth this, right? And that's the power of this training for you. But I also want you to get for your clients, it's the same thing. For your clients to believe in themselves enough to invest in working with you, a lot of times that's like half the battle for them. Right? It's like for them to be stuck in it gets vast as I can't afford it. And I don't mean by that people don't have whatever real challenging circumstances they have around money, right? However, when you really get your own worth, you really get your own value, you figure out the money. You do, right? And it's not serving our clients to not believe in them enough, just like it's not right. And to not believe in and it's the same thing that we're not serving us or ourselves or anyone to not believe in ourselves enough and our own worth. It really comes down to that. The money is just kind of a detail. It's just the expression of that.
It's just a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. Thank you. Guys, run over there, grab that gift. I'm seeing some fabulous comments, lots of people appreciating what you have to share this morning. Ann, thank you so much. Thank you for being here with us. I've already had, for those of you who are here, thank you for carving the time out of your day to show up, especially on short notice. And I did, in fact, get a couple of emails from people who say, Martha, I really want to be there, but I just can't. I'm just going to stall here for a minute because I see that Laura has just now joined us, and unfortunately we are wrapping up. Don't worry. Laura, I was just saying that I had several people reach out to me via email saying that they couldn't be here live, so I will send out a recording to those people. So Laura, if you will send me a quick email at martha@marthaawilson.com, I will make sure that you get the recording of this as well. So yeah, thank you guys. Thank you, Ann, so much for being here.
Right.
And thank you for doing what you do.
And if you get your gift, I'll see you at my next Soulpreneur Success Academy call, and we'll get to chat. So
I love it. Yay. All right,
bye, everybody.
Bye.